as Shinji had to take on more responsibility and almost force himself and feel as though he was, or at least I felt as though he began to become brainwashed and just even more manipulated than before into a position that he no longer wants to be. And then especially through the outside noise being, brought into him through the other people that he passes within different areas that he would go or the people that he's met at school. It caused a lot of problems, and then I'm eventually having to come face to face with them in the middle of the fight against this angel that he's going against, seeing the guy who literally just beat him up at school, seeing the guy who literally just told him about the things that happened to his sister as a result of his own actions and took out his anger on him, and having to come face to face with that and knowing that this guy could end up like that, it completely broke him even more and forced him into a state that he definitely doesn't want to have to be in, and just completely loses it and let the rage come out and was able to defeat the angel, which was really excellent. The first time that we get a victory on his own, being conscious, I guess, in the state that he was in. We get to see him pilot the Ava a lot more and just be a lot better with it and overcoming that stuff a lot. So very, very good stuff, I would say, coming about here. I'm curious as to a lot of things still, so we still have a lot of stuff that I would love to, develop a little more and see kind of how we can bring that forward. I would love at some point for Shinji to be happy, and not be like broken, but I feel as though if that were to happen at any point, it would not be till the back end of the series. So like right towards the end. So we're going to assume that that won't happen for this foreseeable future. And I probably shouldn't, hope for that, but who knows? Maybe he'll have some good times along the way, right? Maybe he can become friends with Ray, and maybe he can make friends with these other guys in his class, and he can have a little bit of a bright spot, and he can kind of suppress the feelings and the things that are happening, and come to terms a little bit more with the things he's almost being forced into doing. Who knows? We'll see what he decides to do. Will he decide to live with it? Will he decide to fight against it? Will he decide just to fight for it, but not with the idea that this is something that he still wants to do, and he's going to continue to struggle? I don't know, but I'm excited. If you like it all, hit the like and subscribe. Do me a lot to me. Feel free to stick around for the discussion. Leave any comments for this episode of series. Let's go on with episode 4. Nice. She's got it down. Got a strategy for it. Okay, so he's willingly not going. Oh, she got him a little heart sign too now. The pilot doesn't want to be the pilot. He just hasn't been home for 5 days. He just disappeared. I mean, yeah. Running away is hard. You now have to face and oh, they came to find him. Ooh.
碇君と同じクラスの相田と鈴原と申します。
相田君と鈴原君。
はい、僕が鈴原です。気になって見に寄らせてもうたんですが。
Yeah, about that. We don't know where he is. Well, yeah, you can't tell I'm that, so.
そうですか。あ、これ机に溜まってたプリント、碇君の。
わざわざ悪いわね。ありがとう。
ほな、僕ら失礼します。
碇君によろしくお伝えください。
I would love to.
じゃあ、
これは予想外の。えらいべっぴんさんやったな。
Absolutely.
信じたバカ。
Bro got on the train and ran. Wonder if he has a location he's headed to. Like something in mind. Or if it's literally just let me go as far as I can, as long as I can. Just get away. And one by one, you become alone. Yep. He doesn't move one time throughout that whole thing, too. Run it back. More and more people come and go again. You hit the end. Now what? Oh, okay. You can't even stay on it. You gotta go. Oh my god. Oh, he's so... I love the eyes. Oh. I hope they just like accidentally look up and make eye contact with him. Tokyo 2 was destroyed. So would that be relevant to the 4 angels that they've now said that they've encountered? One being... What a fucking shot. Oh my god. I was gonna say one being the one that probably took down the original Tokyo, the second being the one that took down Tokyo 2, and then 3 was the first one we were able to defeat to protect Tokyo 3. Ugh. No matter where you go, it will follow. Bro made it all the way to the countryside, to the mountains. Really pretty areas, though. Jesus Christ, where are you going? On the outside, looking in.
14歳だもんね。人類の存亡を背負わせるのはやっぱ酷よね。でも私たちはエヴァの操縦を14歳の子供たちに委ねざるを得ないのよ。分かってる。で、シンジ君から連絡は？
Nope.
もう戻らないかもしれない。どうするつもり？
Oh, just hope he comes
戻
back.
らないならその方がいいかも。なぜ？
Better for him, not for
この
us.
間の戦闘の後でさ。どうして私の命令を無視したの？
ごめんなさい。
あなたの作戦責任者は私でしょ。あんた本当に分かってんでしょうね。
Oh, he's just following the motions.
あんたね、何でも適当にはいはい言ってりゃいいってもんじゃないわよ。
分かってますよ、ちゃんと。もういいじゃないですか。勝ったんだから。
He's pleased.
そうやって
with
表
result.
面だけ人に合わせていれば楽でしょうけどね。そんな気持ちでエヴァに乗ってたら死ぬわよ。
いいですよ、そんなの。
It might be better that
い
way,
い
huh?
覚悟だわと言いたいとこだけど、褒められると思ったら大間違いよ。怒り真司君。
褒められるも何も、どうせ僕しか乗れないんでしょ。
Mm-hmm.
乗りますよ。
小隊長殿。
What is wrong with him?
あいや、行くんだ。
Damn, he's got a whole...
のやつさ、
Oh, okay,
反
okay.
省してた。妹に説教されたらしいよ。私たちを救ってくれたのはあのロボットなのよ。
Right, despite the small injuries or anything that we got in the way.
あのうるさいセミが鳴かないから。小さい頃は静かでよかったけど、毎年増えてる。
生態系が戻ってるって、美里さんが言ってた。
美里さんね。まったく羨ましいよ。あんな綺麗なお姉さんと一緒に住んでてエヴァンゲリオンを操縦
You
でき
must be
て
living the life.
一度でいいから思いのままにエヴァンゲリオンを操ってみたい。
やめた方がいいよ。お母さんが心配するから。
ああ、それなら大丈夫。俺、
Why does
そう
he
いう
think
の
he's out
ない。
here?
怒と一緒だよ。
ゲリラ戦にでもなった時のための訓練。
こんなおもちゃで何ができるんだよ。好きでやってるだけさ。
Just passing the time. Oh, that's an awesome display for it to be like the morning now. All the fog and everything. And they found him.
シンジ君だね。
Pain.
はい。
ネルフ保安庁本部のものだ。保安条例第8項の適用により君を本部まで連行する。いいね。
Alright. Yep. Not even gonna fight it.
お前それでもまた
What are you supposed to do?
勝てない喧嘩するやつはバカなの。まあ短期は関係ないの。
ほっつき歩いて気が晴れたかしら。
別に。
エヴァのスタンバイできてるわ。乗る？
Yep.
乗らないの？
叱らないんですね。家出のこと。
What good would it do?
当然ですよね。美里さんは他人なんだから。もし僕が乗らないって言ったら、初号機はどうするんですか？
レイが乗るでしょうね。
そんなことできるわけないじゃないですか。 彼女に全部押し付けるな。
Well, somebody's got to do
大
it.
丈夫ですよ。乗りますよ。
Yep.
乗りたくないの？
Nope.
そりゃそうでしょ。第一僕には向いてませんよ、そういうの。
It's not something that comes to anyone naturally.
嫌ならここから出てきなさい。エヴァや私たちのことは全部忘れて元の生活に。
It's not that easy anymore, though. After the situations he's already been put into, running away is not really the right option here.
ボスチルドレンはまだ見つかっていない。
パイロットの補充は効かないということですか。
Okay, so there's 4 now. What the fuck?
美里さんはどこですか？一言お別れを。
君はすでにネルフの人間ではない。
Mm.
どのようなことも教えられない。
Alright. Now we've made the decision to run away. This could be bad. For him mentally, at least.
ほら怒り2発もどついたりして悪かった。わしのこともどついてくれ。
Nah, that's all
そんな
good.
ことできないよ。
頼む。せやないとわしの気が済まん。まった手加減なしや。
Yeah, no light shit, buddy. Alright, he felt it. I thought that he wasn't gonna feel it. Even with him trying. This is how we grow closer.
どうしてここが？
We
勘って
fight.
やつだよ。ここんとこ何十人って同級生を見送ってきたんだ。
They're used to losing
怒り
people.
がおらんのやったらいずれわしらもこの町から出ていかんならんようなるやろ。せやけどわしら何も言われへん。
Yep.
エヴァの中で苦しんでる怒りの姿。
Beautiful way of putting it, dude.
怒りのことごちゃごちゃ抜かすやつがおってみ。わしがパチキかましたる。
I'm glad he explained it in that way. You just follow him? Oh.
殴られなきゃならないのは僕だ。僕は卑怯だ。
Yeah, I'm running away from this. Ugh.
山嵐のジレンマか。身を寄せるほど相手を傷つける。こういうことか。あの子、ああいう言い方でしか自分の気持ちを伝えられないんだわ。
Mm-hmm. Because no matter what he says or no matter what he does, it'll end up hurting somebody or affecting somebody that he has a relation to in some sort of way. And is that what we want as people? Absolutely not. Is that what he wants? Absolutely not. That's why it's easier to obey and listen to orders than to run away and make your own decision. Because at least then you can try and justify to yourself that you're just following what you're being told as opposed to knowing that you've made that decision all on your own. Assuming he doesn't get on, he just turns around, somehow gets away. I'm just gonna see him. They're gonna be like, what the fuck? She came to find him. Or to see him off, huh? He's gonna be right there, huh? Is he not?
あれあの時のべっぴんさんや。
Yep. That's such a beautiful way to show him, too. I love the way they utilize music in a lot of these shots, too. Where it doesn't feel like it's directly being put in for you, but it's almost like background to where they are.
ただいま。おかえりなさい。
For me, this is hands down and far and away, I would say, the best episode so far out of the bunch that we have. Almost feels like a chapter close that we've come to, completely allowing Shinji to kind of find the resolve to do these things and make a decision almost entirely on his own, something that we feel like we haven't really seen, as the almost manipulation and influence of others has kind of dictated everything that he's done to this point, and how he's reacted and responded to these situations. So now entirely kind of wiping that slate clean and running away and giving himself a chance to kind of be alone and isolated from all of this stuff, and really facing it and thinking of the multiple paths that he's going on, but reflecting on the people who've kind of grown closer to him as a result of the stuff that's been in and implemented within his life here, causes really, really excellent kind of development to him, and allows him to find that resolve to ultimately come back and make that decision that this is something that he's going to have to face head on, and he doesn't end up wanting to run away from, despite the fact that he did run away from it temporarily, even if that is. While story elements and a bunch of stuff are so excellently done here, and we'll definitely go into that as we progress more throughout the episode, and I go back and recap it a little bit here. I just want to say this is completely like masterful display of directing and the way that they're able to utilize sound. They're utilizing the use of color, the use of shadowing, the use of just so much different elements here to visually and audibly display something that's so special. And I think the most impressive thing easily that we've seen so far throughout the series. The utilization of just not using a lot of music throughout a lot of these moments, or utilizing music throughout the moments, but not actually having it something that's mixed in a way that it sounds like it's directly being placed for the viewers to kind of hear, like almost like subtly through the background of what's of the actual scene itself. It's almost like a complete, like putting you in that moment, in that scene, and what the characters would be hearing themselves if they were a part of it. So it's not something like intentionally just that just adds to build in any sort of way onto like the experience of the viewers. It's almost like you're actually just being placed and dropped within this world here of the actual characters, and hearing the things within the backgrounds that they're hearing. And we see that multiple times, as you know, we're kind of within the theater itself, and we're seeing and hearing the actual thing playing, or we're outside, right, and we end up hearing the things like the crickets and a bunch of stuff outside, and it's just like creates this atmosphere almost that is so like excellently done, and almost makes you feel so isolated. It makes you feel lonely in a way. It makes you feel like in a situation that Shinji would kind of have himself in throughout the entirety of this journey that he kind of finds himself on. And I think that's so cool. And it's utilized so well. And we continue to do that with so many other things as well. As I said, with the different uses of coloring and different uses of shading and everything, which we'll talk about as we kind of progress a little bit more through as well. But just so much that kind of went into this with how we want to openly display a lot of things. Like even in just the final shot of us just having Shinji like not be there for a certain amount of time, and then seeing him slightly in the background right behind her head, but like barely for a little bit, and then holding out that last shot. Well, I don't know if it needed to be held out as long as it was. I don't mind that at all. And I think it's so like there's so many like little decisions there that allowed the episode itself to breathe, and allowed you to kind of just sit back and almost in thought and reflect on a lot of the different situations without actually having a lot of dialogue between the characters themselves, but showcasing just a lot of different things, and allows you to think or try to put yourself in their own headspace, or think about, you know, what they would end up be thinking, or actually just seeing them in that process of trying to figure out the whole situation themselves. And it all came out really excellent. Misato sees here right at the beginning that Shinji is still not going to school, fully learning and realizing here, or at least we get to, that he is not injured, or it's not because he just mentally isn't all there or whatever. It's literally just because he ran away up to this point, which is not a great thing for us to say, not something that you actually want to see, but he's running away from the situation that he's in. I really like here the display here that she has on the wall for him now. I think this is different than the one that we saw before, although it does say the same thing on it, just to show that she's like trying to like spice things up a little bit, give him a little bit more to make it like almost more of this home environment, or something that he can feel welcome and like belong to, which I think is really, really sweet. She does a good job at kind of coming around to me as a character a lot throughout the episode, from my previous thoughts and feelings and suspicions almost onto her and her entire situation. And while I still feel a lot of that is there, I think we get to see a lot more of that genuine side of her that was almost masked a lot of the previous times fully come out here, which I think is really cool. These two show up because of course they do, because they have to drop off a bunch of stuff from school, and also we got to apologize still, right? And we just want to make sure that he's doing okay after the whole incident that happened and what they had to see him go through, and the, you know, just huge traumatic moment basically for that. So really sweet of them to do that. In this moment, she basically gets pissed about the situation. I'm assuming, and I could be wrong here, but the situation to me is more of like she's thinking on, you've gotten all these things that I was kind of worried about, right? That you didn't have any friends and that you weren't like happy and you didn't have this home or somewhere that you felt like you kind of belonged to or any of this stuff. And now you have these people showing up and showing care for you and the way that they even introduce themselves and everything, right? Like in trying to reach out to you and actually caring for you in these moments, and you're just going to run away from all of that. So like a little disappointed to see that you have been kind of succeeding in the things that you want him to have and you're trying to give him in that space, but at the same time he's just running away from it too. The train shots are so good here, just him not moving at all and everybody else just constantly flooding in and out, I think is so cool. Just seeing him kind of being alone, looking down, not being able to face the things on the sides or in front of him, and just kind of staying trapped within his own little universe here that he puts himself in. He ends up going to the movie theater here, and he sees the variety of people in the crowd who is not paying attention at all, similar exactly to him, to the things that's going on, could not care less about it, but just kind of drowning himself out almost and using this as background noise, something just to kind of be there and maybe make him not feel as isolated or alone. I mean, we've even seen all the moments of him just using his own headphones and all these things too. He's not trying to entirely keep himself alone to his thoughts, but he is almost trapped in a way that he is. And I love this too, of him being like this and then snapping out when he ends up looking down at the couple below him here. But the way that we can kind of go from his eyes being completely like dead and just like not locked into anything at that moment to actually like seeing something and coming back to life a little bit. He ends up running away, not wanting to see anyone, of course, and just hiding again and laying down there. This is, so they showcase this where they talk about Tokyo 2 and the issues and things that kind of came about with it, I'm assuming. So my guess, and I could be completely wrong here, would be through 4 different angels that we've encountered over time have now been 1 within the original Tokyo, 2 within the second one that they've kind of rebuilt and done, and now we're on to Tokyo 3, which is now also encountered 2, but we've been able to successfully defeat both of them this time and kind of keep that living, would be my assumption for that. This is such a beautiful shot here. The coloring of this is so excellent, and I think it's just it's so beautiful the way that they can make the sky and everything look here in these moments. His journey, his lonely journey continues as he enters some really excellent areas. I really like these a lot and the way that they kind of display them, and it's so like vast and just beautiful, but they're so lonely at the same time, in different environments and stuff that he sees himself kind of running between here, as he openly has to be like, all right, I gotta go back, but doesn't really know what to do and just sits there outwardly looking onto the city, not sure of his entire situation. So we get this moment with Rei. I don't know what it is. Still, we need to learn more about her. We need her introduced more. I they keep just like showing her and assuming like just giving us a little bit but not giving us like really what we need. And then they talk about here how they have no choice but to entrust the piloting to 14-year-olds. So is this specifically meaning that people of that age can only do it, or is this just meaning that the few that they've been forced to almost entrust it to are the only ones that we can actually do? Like, does that make sense? That we can actually give it to, regardless of the fact that they all ended up just like randomly being the exact same age, they all just end up being compatible or useful in this sort of way. I don't know. But that also, I'm pretty sure, means that the other 2 that they mentioned, because we've known about 3 before since they've said that, but now it seems like there's a 4th one that's kind of coming involved too. So I'm assuming they're all the same exact age too. At some point we'll get like introduced to them, but everyone seems to be very similar here in this moment. In this moment, we have Misato kind of reflecting on the conversation she had with Shinji, just talking about him just almost accepting in agreeing to all the things that she says, even though she's like, why did you not obey me? Why did you not listen and do all these things? And he's still just like, yeah, my bad. Yeah, it happens. You know, just like not thinking about it at all, or just kind of being okay with her yelling at him or getting upset and knowing that all this stuff would happen and just following orders again. And she's like, just because you say that, like, doesn't mean you're going to get through with this. And that's not going to just be an okay thing. And just for whatever reason, his emotions here in this moment are a little difficult for me to grasp, I think, entirely. The way that I'm viewing it, almost, because he doesn't seem too like bothered in any sort of way by the things that she's saying here, and it almost seems like he's happy directly at and the aftermath of what happened and the decision that he made. And to me, it just seems like for the first time he made a decision to act out on his own. For the first time he did something that he wanted to do, and that he felt was right in comparison to what other people have felt. And it turned out pretty successful, but it probably felt pretty good, right? It felt good in that moment to actually like let out and let yourself kind of show, as opposed to just obeying and following orders constantly. And it's almost like him getting like that high on like that feeling that he gets as a result of this. I don't know. That's kind of the feeling that I get, but also it could just be like he's like a little broken, so his emotions in a way are not like intact at all with the way that he should almost be. But I don't know exactly. I still can't get like the greatest read, I would say, on that. Masato in this moment shows a little bit more of that genuineness, that care that I've been noting that she definitely has, but not knowing how much and how that fully relates to her and him and his situation and her situation, and understanding like the dynamic between the two of them, but also that this is a work kind of thing for her, and all that kind of works. The quote of like, if piloting the Eva ends up or brings him nothing but pain, he shouldn't end up getting into it at all. Like showing that side of like, if this is something that bothers him that much and really harms him that much, let's not have him do this. It's not a good thing. But it's like, who are you going to turn it to? What's the other option? Basically, what do we have? Do we just turn it to somebody who's completely getting destroyed like Ray over and over again? Like, it probably isn't the smartest thing, but who ends up knowing? Buddy just playing all by himself and having some fun, but just the way that we kind of put him into the sequence and completely make him dark, I think is so cool. I don't know what it is. It's just the feeling that you get when you end up seeing it. It just feels very cinematic in a way. We have a nice little conversation between the two. Lets him know about how Toji was kind of apologizing for it. Lets him know like, you know, everybody else would have been dead, and that he's fully come around and fully has like realized those things, and you know, that he felt bad about the whole situation. They each connect to each other a little bit more too, letting him know like, hey, yeah, I'm like you. I don't have like this family or anything that I can kind of go home to or feel like I really belong to in any sort of way, and I kind of just make the most and live freely and try and have as much joy and fun in these things that I can. And it's like the opposite of almost what Shinji does entirely, right? He doesn't have any of that stuff, but instead he just kind of listens and obeys and does the things that other people says and just kind of conforms and falls in line with them, while instead his friend here is like, I'm not like that at all. I do things entirely different, you know, which I think is pretty cool, and it lets him see into that lifestyle of somebody so similar in a way to him, but who acts entirely different, in that you almost do have these choices of these things, and that you can do the things that you kind of want to and have and make those own decisions on your own, and all these things and this journey that he kind of goes on allows him to almost fully see the picture of like, is this running away? Is this the decision? Is this what I should be doing? The proper choice in a way that I can make. I love the switch of this going into the morning with it being like all like fogged up and everything. I think it's really, really cool. And it looks really great. They end up showing up, Nerve shows up, and they end up taking Shinji, which is, you know, things end up happening. He ends up obeying and just going with them. And then in this moment, Masato is just like, brother, what were you doing? Like, what what is good? Like, are you gonna do this? Do you actually want to pilot? Do you want to be a part of this? And he's just like obeying over and over, but it's like, do you really want that, you know? So she ends up being a little bit harsh with the way that she's kind of reacting to it, in treating him in this moment. And to me, it just kind of comes off of like, and she's like letting him know too, like, if you don't want to do this, like, you don't have to. But to me, it just like comes off like, let me put him in this situation where it lets him know that it's okay if he doesn't, but drives him to a point that he like accepts that, and he kind of does run away as a result of what happens. Because it's almost like her saying, it's my job to tell you, like, yes, you need to go in, you need to do this. I've been using you this entire time. I've been trying to manipulate and do all these things because that's basically what I'm tasked with, and putting you in this position because we need you, for me to properly have my job be done, right? And to protect all these other people, I need to do those things. But at the same time, I do have a genuine care for you and for, you know, your situation. So I just got to be honest, you know, it's not something that you want to do. Make your own decision, like follow what you want to do. And she ends up being a little rude about it too, like the attitude that she almost have, right? Just forget about us, just run away, get out of here. We don't need somebody who's acting the way out, or acting out the way that you are, right? We don't need that. We can find alternatives and other people who can end up going to do this. And she's just kind of being rude in a way that almost drives him away, that makes him think it's okay if I do this, right? That makes me think I'm not wanted here, that I don't belong here. And it's like, does she actually feel this way? I don't think so. I really don't. And I think that she's intentionally trying to do this as a way to kind of save him, to show how much that she cares for him, and giving him that opportunity to get away and not have to be involved in the situation anymore, and not be kind of haunted by these things that end up happening to him. I don't know. I think it's a really excellent display of her kind of trying to do what she's supposed to do through her own job, but meshing in how much she actually does care and letting that mask drop a little bit, and fully just letting him go out and make his own decisions to do what he wants here, which does drive him away to the point that he ends up running away. In this moment, Shinji ends up getting to see his classmates one last time. They're like, yeah, we come here all the time because we're used to losing things. We're used to losing people. They always go away. So we always like to see him off and everything and like see how nice of a thing that kind of is. But it is a little sad for him to kind of come to that realization. We end up getting Toji to finally apologize here. And they have this moment between the two of them where he gets hit and they can kind of laugh things off and they can come a little bit closer to each other and fully understand each other a little bit more. And I really like Toji's lines here, you know, understanding like if you're leaving, we have to leave because nobody's here to protect us anymore. And it's just like kind of what happens, but like reassuring him in that moment, like, oh, don't feel bad about that. Like everyone should understand, like, this is not on you. Also, we've firsthand have now witnessed the things that have kind of come along with this, the trauma that's kind of come along with you in these moments. And I just feel bad a little bit about that whole situation. If literally anybody had to go through this, they would probably run away and make that decision. It's not like you're, you know, doing something that nobody else would do. So don't feel bad at all for this, which I think is really, really nice of him to kind of make note of, you know, and try and reassure him that, like, even if he chooses to do this, if he thinks this is the proper thing and the right thing to do, that's what he should end up doing at the end of the day. And all of them can kind of grow and come a little bit closer, and you get to see a little bit of development between them and get to see the bond that they can kind of connect with each other, grow a little bit stronger, which I think is really great. And then you even see that a little bit more come out as Shinji's like, no, I'm the one who deserves to be here. I'm running away from all these things. And it's just like, I don't know. It's really cool. I think it's such an excellent moment. At this moment, we end up seeing Misato start thinking about the whole dilemma that he's having with the hedgehog scenario and stuff that they talked about before, about how the closer you end up growing to these people, the more you end up hurting them over time, and how that can all just kind of relate, because people end up over time kind of getting these expectations almost for you, or these feelings, and creating these ideals of like who you are and the things that you've done in the past, and what you are capable of, and kind of just expect almost more out of you, or maybe they don't expect things out of you. So when they are expecting, say, something from you, or wanting something for you, or knowing that you're capable of something due to how close that you've ended up growing, and then you choose to not go that route and do something entirely else, of course it is going to hurt them, right? You're going to do something that goes and defies exactly what they kind of expect out of you, to a point that it's not a great thing, right? And you know that this person's capable of these things, and instead they're going to be in the situation where they're hurting you. And now in this moment, Shinji, somebody who is so capable, and she knows it, and everybody else knows it, and he knows it, that he's plenty capable of being able to actually do this and control the save and protect people and save lives if he really needs to, but he's running from it, right? The closer that you end up understanding these other people, the more that you can hurt them in these moments. But even on top of that, just the closer that you grow, the more that you start to actually go in and understand somebody, her home life with him, and understanding the things that he's been through and the way that he feels, is causing things to hurt so much more for her, right? Having to lose him and having to lose this situation and these things that she's kind of tried to create for him, trying to lose somebody else within her life, and how difficult all those things have kind of become. And it's like a really sad revelation almost of this whole situation that they're a part of. And then we get our final scenario where basically she pulls up, and does he get on the train or does he not? She ends up realizing it's gone. It is what it is, until she turns in that last moment, and you get to see him a little bit there as he ends up just standing there looking down and all timid as ever. And they just hold the shot for a while as we let the background of the announcer at the station kind of come in and talk for a little bit, and they all just look on to each other. Ultimately, we get the moments where he ends up deciding, you know what, I've made my decision. I need to come back. There's plenty of things that I can't let down. I don't want to let these other people down. I don't want to run from my responsibilities much longer or anymore. I've been forced into being responsible for all these things, but I am plenty capable, and I do believe enough in myself that I can do this and prevent so much more issue going on for others over time. Let me take my chances here. Let me come back. And it shows full resolve of him to ultimately come home, which I think is really cool. Really loved it. Absolutely loved that. And I'm sure there's plenty more that I'll pick up throughout my edit of this, and I'm sure that anybody can leave comments about things that I've misinterpreted, or I've interpreted maybe different than you have, or, you know, you can shed some light on certain scenes and moments and things about the meanings and the way that you think that they made you feel, or the way that they're meant to make you feel, or they're made to make you think, or whatever. And I'd absolutely love that. But I think this was great so far, and I'm excited and very thrilled to kind of get into more, and hopefully you guys are as well. If you liked it all, like and subscribe to me, feel free to check out the videos and channel. Let me comments with this sort of series. I'll be back for episode 5 soon. You guys have a good one. Peace.